Hey tea heads, this is Don from Mayleaf. Underneath this towel is a tea which has been waiting in the wings for practically a year, but now it's time for it to enter the spotlight. Here is our latest raw Gushu PuErh. This is the Dram Alchemist. Take a look at the cover, as always, by Celine. The salamander, deep in the jungle, deep in the forest, next to a river, and in the background, this salamander is using one of these retort flasks, these distillation flasks, to distill all of the botanicals in this deep forest and create a dram, a perfect cup of liquor, the Dram Alchemist. Let's quickly scope this tea. This is season spring 2021. Now I'm speaking to you from spring 2022. We've just finished we're just at the tail end of sourcing all of our PuErh from this spring, this year. And so this is practically a year old. In fact, it is a year old. I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about the reasoning behind why we've delayed this release. The cultivar is the Mang Fei big leaf variety, Daiyejong variety from this particular area. So the origin is Mang Fei, which is very close to the Myanmar border up in Yongda area, Linsang Yongda area of Yunnan province. So very close to Myanmar border. We can talk a little bit about that as well. The picking and processing on this is going to be the classic bud and up to third leaf, and the elevation is approximately 1,500 meters. So the Myanmar area, or the border areas with Myanmar, produce spectacular teas, really, really wonderful teas. In my experience, and it's very difficult to make generalizations, or we shouldn't really make too many generalizations because every PuErh tea is different, but overall, the general sense that I get with teas from that particular area is it's very rich in what I would describe as a jungly taste. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's complicated, it's complex, it has a lot of depth, not earthy so much, but undergrowthy a little bit. It's got a little bit more of that humid, mossy, as you can see here, succulence and mossiness, close to rivers, deep into the heart of the forest or the jungle. And that's the general sense that I get from teas from this area. And when we selected this tea last year, in probably April or May last year, when we tasted the Malcha, we really enjoyed its complexity. We enjoyed that deep forest taste. And we also picked up that there was quite a lot of floral notes going on, quite a lot of interesting bright notes coming through as well. And so we thought we would do a little experiment, inspired by our badly aged Tianhong, which spawned Playground Rendezvous. You can check out videos to those teas if you'd like, where the supplier stored the tea airtight, and that led to some fermentation tastes. What we decided to do as an experiment, purely as an experiment, was to take this tea and bag it up for nearly a year. We bagged it up for 10 months, sealed, airtight in bags for 10 months, and we pressed it in February this year, and it's taken a while for it to then dry and then for it to get onto a boat and arrive to us. So it's just landed. I haven't tasted it yet. This is the Dram Alchemist. I'm going to be interested to see how the flavor profiles have shifted with that airtight bagging, and also just the year that it's taken for it to sort of reach the stage that it's at now. So I hope that you enjoy this cake wrapper by Celine. Very detailed. Took her a long time to do. And as you can see, we're sort of incorporating the idea of deep forest, deep jungle, the rivers, the humidity, but also the floral notes and the idea of sort of a fermentation distillation process to make this dram. So for those of you who don't know, a dram is sort of considered like a small precious measure of usually like a whiskey or a spirit. So you can see the salamander there. I've got another one here to break into, so we can leave that one to the side. Let's pull this one out here. In fact, I'll leave that here and I'll just do this on the side here. And we'll take a look at the look of these leaves. Oh, the smell coming off the dry leaf, which is not something that I talk about very much. Whoa, potent, like strawberry note coming through. Okay, here, you can take a look at the leaves. There you go, beautiful pickings. Lots and lots of bud material in this. Darker than, obviously, if it had been 2022 press. So it's got a little bit more age to it, but also, you know, maybe even darker potentially than if it had been left just sort of loose for 10 months before pressing. Obviously impossible to know for sure, but lots and lots of lovely quality markers here. Very nice sort of antique silver buds, furry, moving into your plummies and your sort of gunmetal colors as well. So let's take a nice chunk of this tea. Breaks up nicely. So yeah, we wanted to do this experiment. We've been thinking about doing this experiment for a while, and we're sort of trying to just wait for the right tea to come along. And we would have bought this tea and pressed it anyway. So it wasn't like we were thinking, oh, it needs to have this, you know, extra time being bagged up. But we just felt like this was the right tea because of the fact that it could really pick up a lot of those notes hiding in the background that maybe needed a little push. And we're hoping that this bagging process may have done that. It probably would do that anyway, just through the process of pressing it and then the aging of the tea. But I just wanted to see if I could bring it out a little bit more. So this is just an experiment. It may or may not work, but the raw material of the tea was so good that I don't really have any worries about, you know, it not performing anyway. But we'll see. Hopefully that bagging process didn't somehow cause any detrimental effects to the tea. That would be an unexpected outcome. But this is all learning. It's very important, I think, in tea that we continually try to test new ways of tweaking the productions and tweaking the brews and, you know, keeping things fresh and seeing what creative ideas will work and which ones fall by the wayside. So leaves there, a nice healthy portion. We're going to get the water in here, heat this up. As I said, the smell coming off the leaf as soon as I've unwrapped it is very like stewed strawberry smell. Let's give some of this water, wake up our cat, tea pet. Put him in position number 1. Okay, here we go. In go these leaves. And my first smell of Dram Alchemist. Here we go. Cheers, everybody. Oh, sweeter than I remember. I'm definitely getting those cherries. I'm getting lilies as well. Very floral, very sweet. I'm getting lilies, macerated strawberries, sponge cake, steamed sponge cake, a little bit of caramel as well. Very, very sweet. I'm not picking up as much of that undergrowth deep forest smell, but we'll see if that comes out. Oh, there is a bright note to it though as well. Verging on the chrysanthemum pepperiness. So chrysanthemum and lilies as the flowers. I'm getting caramels and sponge cakes and a very distinct fruity strawberry note that, dare I say it, smells a little bit fermented or macerated potentially in some sort of liquor. All right. Here we go. You can take a little look at these leaves here. Oh, very balanced, incredibly balanced. Okay, so now I am getting a little bit of that depth. How would I describe it? It's sort of got a little, it's sort of got a woodiness, but I want to say more like vanilla bean. So it's sweet woodiness. So it's got that dark woody quality, but sweeter, and like deep fudgy vanilla beans. I'm getting clotted cream or Devon custard. No, Cornish ice cream. I was going to say Cornish ice cream, but I think it's more. Yeah, that vanilla is there, but I think it's more like a clotted cream. So very creamy and milky, and that's not something that's unusual for teas from this area. If we think about Dream Scene Smuggler, which was a mix of teas from this area, partly also from Myanmar, it had a creamy quality to it. Still getting the lilies. I'm still getting the strawberries. The strawberries are macerated. I'm getting a little vodka note, like just as if you've soaked strawberries in vodka. I don't want to be sort of reading too much into it because I know I'm thinking ferment. So, I'm going to have to you're going to have to factor that in. But I do note a peppery note and a sort of vodka-y note. Also like spices like that would be normally in gin, like juniper. So juniper and vanilla, those are those woodier, deeper notes. And there's a general freshness, if you don't go too close to your nose, that is reminiscent of that river here. A little bit of sort of mossiness. It's a very complicated tea, extremely rich in lots of aromatics. We're going to do a 25-second brew, although you know me. If you put the stopwatch on me, it's probably more like 40, but I'll try and get this one accurate, even though it should always be about feel. I'll put the cat over there as my number 1 position. Okay. For those of you on the stopwatch, I reckon it was about 28 seconds. You can count. Right, we'll put that to the side. I want to smell the leaves a bit more. Just one more whiff. Yeah, it's got also like a little bit of a dark brown bread with honey, with like a real thick jungle honey. Oh, very, very sweet. Sweeter than I remember the Malcha. Got this cute little cup here. Check it out. We wanted to get this cup in actually for Mayleaf, but wasn't happening. The price was exorbitant, and this was sort of an accident, the way that this pattern came up. So it was so unpredictable that we couldn't get that consistency. Unfortunately, lots of experiments fail in the background that you don't hear about, but I get to have at least one sample. Well, I've got a couple of these. I love these cups. I think it's beautiful. I would have loved to have sold them. All right, cheers, everybody. Look at that. Nice, good gelatinous look to the bubbles there. Yep. Cheers. Ooh, hot. One problem with these cups is that they're a bit thin. Hot on my fingers. Texture. Thick. I think it's going to get even thicker, but it is already on the thicker end of medium, moving to thicker, moving to fully thick, whatever that means. Yeah, slightly gelatinous in the mouth. Soft, slightly oily, moving to a powdery grip on the tongue, and we'll see how that transforms, but we won't talk about that now. Oh, and the taste. It's just starting to really emerge now. I'm getting a starchy note as my first sort of note. So those sponge cakes and those breads have now lightened a little bit. It's more in the glutinous rice quality. Rounded and comforting, starchy. But after you swallow, you're given this zingy freshness. Again, I want to say like gin, like a London gin with all of those botanicals that are distilled. Again, judge for yourself, but I distinctly pick up a sort of botanical distillate kind of quality to it. So I'm getting juniper berries. I'm getting the melange of botanicals that make up a good London gin. And it's got a little bit of an alcoholic feel in the mouth. What do I mean by that? Like a little bit sharper after you've swallowed. So you're getting that glutinous rice sort of indulgence. And then after you swallow it, it feels like a little bit like there's a touch of alcohol in it. There isn't, but it just has that sort of sharpness a little bit. And herbaceous. So juniper, what is that herb? The liquor is didn't look at the liquor. That is a pretty color. Sort of a very bright straw gold. Might be better if I put it on here so you can see it. Bright straw gold with a lot of texture in there. Lots and lots of texture. Can you see the texture in that? Quick zoom into that. You can hopefully see the texture. Looking creamy. The sweetness in my mouth is growing and growing. And it's got that sharpness that I was talking about, has also got a fizziness. The strawberry is there, but it reminds me of either strawberry taffy candies, but more like a strawberry, what was that? As a child, we used to have these like sherbet candies. They're called freshers or refreshers. I'll have to look it up. There was like a strawberry sherbet, I remember the pack, kind of bubble letters on it. It was like, very sort of 80s or so. But I don't know if they still exist, but like a strawberry sherbet candy. I'm still picking up the lilies. I'm still picking up that very sweet floral note in there. But it's very integrated. It's not just sort of dancing by itself. It's very integrated with this whole, movement of glutinous and woody and sweet spices and herbaceous spices and the fruit. They're all dancing together. Lovely, lovely first infusion. If the first infusion is anything to go by, this tea is a winner in terms of its balance of complex flavors and aromatics. What's that fruit? I want to say sort of in between pineapple and lemon rinds. So it's sort of like, I don't know what the fruit would be, but it's like a lemon skin sort of tang to the smell, but with a bit more tropical note like pineapple. I don't know if there's any sort of combo of a pineapple lemon. Sorry, now I've got pineapple, apple pen in my head. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you can go look it up. Right. creamy, fruity, sweet, herbaceous, very balanced. My memory of the Malcha was of a more, as you can tell from the cover, more foresty taste. So mosses and wet stone and a little bit of the sort of deep woody creaminess like vanilla bean in there, but with those lilies. Those lilies, I can't remember if we picked lilies, but it does look like Celine did pick lilies from that colour. So I did pick up those lilies, but it's really, really transformed. And of course, we can't know for sure how it would have transformed if we hadn't bagged it up. Should have done that experiment. I know everyone's screaming at me like, why didn't you not, you know? True, but we didn't. So for next time. Fresher. Ooh, those herbaceous notes are coming through. It rings a bell. It's a very distant sort of childhood memory. It's like a fragrant, sweet grassiness. Not grass, but that river undergrowth mossiness is transformed into a little bit more fragrant. Oh, I know what it is. What's it called? Bison grass? Bison grass used to, Zubrovka, bison grass vodka. That's what it reminds me. Yeah, not my childhood, but you know, a long time ago. Drinking bison grass vodka. Wow, it's been a long time since I've had bison grass vodka. Used to really enjoy that. Yeah, it has that sort of Zubrovka bison grass fragrant sweetness for those of you who know. Delicious. All right, let's talk about the finish in the mouth. Because it's giving me a nice tingly juiciness, slightly flooding, not like open the floodgates flooding, but slightly flooding. Definitely feel very, very lubricated in my mouth. I'm getting a little bit of the sort of wet pebble stone note in terms of that mineral texture and taste. And the sweetness, it's actually tastes again like candy, but like a pear candy. I think they were like pear drops. God, I've gone into candy mode, haven't I? I think it's pear drops. They look a little bit like that color, but a bit lighter, a bit like less orange. And there's I think they're called pear drops. Very distinct sort of pear drop taste. Really, really nice. There's a sweetness in my mouth. And very juicy, as I said. Yeah. And some of those sweet lilies. All right. I'm going to roll through 5-6 infusions, come back with the all-important body sensation. And I feel like this one's going to be a winner. This is the 6th infusion here. This one is a creeper. Warning, after the first 2-3 infusions, I was like, okay, it's nice. I'm feeling a little buzz, but nothing too intense. And then 4th, 5th infusion really, really started to build in terms of an energy inside me. How would I describe it? It feels rising, fizzy, bright, fun, chatty. But I can also imagine it being quite a deep tea to just sort of explore solo as well. It has a very distinct sort of, feels like sort of left-right hemispheres are just sort of merging a little bit. It feels like there's a little bit of a cross communication going on in my head, if you know what I mean. It's sort of reminiscent of an alcohol drunkenness to a point, but not to the point where you feel out of control or that things are spinning. It just feels like this sort of mingling in your head, but still bright, everything in the room feels a bit brighter and still fun, I would say. I can imagine having a good laugh on this. I wouldn't have like I can imagine the conversations descending into a little bit of a sort of mad nonsense that when you look back on it, like, what were we talking about? That kind of conversation. Really, really enjoying it. Active in the stomach. The taste. As you brew into this tea, you're rewarded with an extra layer of bitterness that comes through. And that, especially if you push it. If you don't push it, like I've been pushing these, if you don't push it, then that is very attenuated and sort of quite mild compared with a lot of raw PuErhs. But as you brew deeper into it, push it a little bit with further infusions, you get this lovely botanical bitters that come through, which really marry well with that gin vibe. So botanical sort of bitters that stay on the tongue for maybe 10 seconds or so, and then dissipate into that floral, juicy sweetness. I'm finding it harder to sort of formulate sentences. I feel like I want to switch the cameras off and just sort of stare a little bit. So apologies if you see me sort of losing it a little bit here. I want to smell the empty gong dao bei, but I realize I've got quite a lot here. And this cup is probably a bit too small to really get a good smell of the empty gong dao bei. Another reason why potentially it's a good thing we didn't get these cups. Did I say smell the empty gong dao bei with the cup? See, I'm still losing it a little bit here. Okay, let me try and smell the empty cup. See if I can get anything from it. Yes, those steamed sponge puddings are coming through. Brighter. Reminds me of those steamed sponge cakes when you go to have dim sum. Yeah, very much like that. Sort of very fluffy and warm smell. Lilies. Instead of pear drops, now more like fresh pears. I'm really, really feeling it. 6th infusion, and I have been knocking them through very, very in quick succession. So, you know, I wouldn't advise that for everybody out there, but I'm very much feeling it. Very, very much feeling it. More than I can remember from other PuErhs. You see? Okay. Focus, son. Have we done everything? Let's take a look at the leaves. Oh, this is a strong tea. Yep. This is, I feel drunken. Very much so. These leaves are beautiful, supple, soft, like frog green leaves with some darker stems. Very, very good material. Have I done everything here? Yes, I think I have. I've done the finish. Finish has got that little bit of bitterness to dryness to sweet juiciness with that pears and lilies, pear drops and lilies. It is a remarkably balanced tea in terms of, you know, ticking off lots of different areas of flavors for a PuErh. It's a remarkably intense tea, very, very rich in body sensation, and also very, very rich and deep in terms of its taste as you roll through the infusions. You can tell you're going to get at least 12, probably up to 20 infusions out of this tea. But I am going to have to switch the cameras off because I genuinely feel very, very tea lifted right now. And I'm sure you'd love me to keep the cameras on, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to hold back a little bit. After 6 infusions, definitely need a break from drinking because the room is just bright and pulsing and potent. And I'm not sure how that relates to, you know, the bagging up of the tea, whether or not that has any difference in body sensation. With these kinds of experiments, like, you know, it's very difficult to do really sort of rigorous A/B trials, but All of these experiments sort of contribute to possible patterns that you can then take forward to future tea productions. Here you go, the Dram Alchemist, that elixir vitae, that elixir of life that the salamander is distilling there deep, deep, deep in the forest. That's where I'd like to be right now, just sitting, listening to the orchestra of the jungle around me, the Dram Alchemist from Mang Fei. I forgot to say, this is a Gushu. I can't remember the estimated age of the tea trees. 200 to 250-year-old tea trees. There you go. I'm gonna now just collapse back and enjoy this sensation. That's it, tea heads. Check out our other videos, taste our teas wherever you are in the world by browsing mayleaf.com, and come visit us if you're ever in London. Other than that, I am a tea lifted Don from Mayleaf. Thank you for being a part of the revelation of true tea. Stay away from those tea bags. Really, do we still need to talk about tea bags? Keep drinking the pinnacle stuff and spread the word, because nobody deserves bad tea. Bye.